Be a part of the best pro wrestling podcast today at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Enjoy tons of bonus videos, including patron-only live shows, gameplay, and vintage 10 for the wins, access to podcast question threads, the Friendo Care Package, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today at patreon.com/Steve and Larson.
Boys and girls, this is the Undisputed Era. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly.
Hello, Steve. Hello, Larson. It's me, Dexter Loomis, NXT Superstar. So here's my shout out to the Going In Raw podcast. Clever name.
Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course taped live at the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson, where we are now on officially the road to 1,000 subs, where if we get to 1,000 subs, we will do some sort of hot pepper challenge where we'll both look like assholes trying to eat hot peppers.
I'll say this. Well, I don't think we need to necessarily restrict ourselves to the peppers themselves. I think the hot wings idea is good because what are those spiced with? Peppers.
Yeah,
hot
right.
Sauce made from peppers.
Yeah.
So I think it's just more, anything super spicy.
All right. Well, I'll change the little graphic that I made up there to hot something challenge, hot stuff challenge.
Yeah.
They'll think we're talking about Eddie Gilbert. Anyways, NXT XXX, NXT 30, whatever you want to call it, is in the books. We got a whole wide range, a whole variety of matches, Larson. We're sort of seemingly, officially, especially with this particular takeover, and it'll be interesting to see if it reverts in the future, but this is the first one that it wasn't designed specifically to put on 5-star Dave Meltzer friendly matches in a row. It was looking to appeal to maybe a wider audience with the McAfee thing, maybe with a different type of NXT star like Karrion Kross. We have a new NXT champion with Karrion Kross in a main event that we'll have plenty to talk about, as you said earlier.
Not only do we have new NXT champions, new North American champion as well.
Of course, yeah.
So title changes all over the place.
Yeah,
except for the other two.
It does seem, yeah, right. It does seem like maybe to widen the scope of NXT, to maybe make it more appealing to a wider audience. They're going in this direction. Now, for all I know, the next takeover might revert back to, well, as long as Kross is champion, we're not going to be expecting 5-star affairs. That's for certain. But appealing to the audience that, those few years of takeover when they were must watch based on the wrestling quality, those days might be gone. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know if they're gone I doubt they're gone in totality. It's probably a situation where it's as you mentioned, variety, and they're going to offer up, a little bit of everything for everybody. Maybe. I mean, that's an optimistic way of looking at things now. We got our celebrity appearance with Pat McAfee having the match against Adam Cole, which is surprisingly pretty darn good. McAfee comported himself pretty darn well in the ring. And then we had, in the chat for our reaction live stream, someone described the main event as a main roster main event.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an unfair comparison.
No.
It's definitely not of the same caliber that we're used to for a lot of takeover main events, but it's something different. Maybe it's to broaden the scope of NXT, maybe hopefully get it in front of more people, because not everybody likes the all the false finishes, all the high flying moves, all the creativity, if you will. Some people like matches that seem like a real fight. And I'm not necessarily going to say the main event was that, the best example of that, but that seemed to be the direction more so they were going, as opposed to Johnny Gargano basically being hit by a bus.
Yeah.
And still kicking out.
Yeah.
So again, that's an optimistic way of looking at it. There's a lot of parse in the main event. This was kind of the real litmus test for Karrion Kross to see if he can deliver on the stage of TakeOver against Keith Lee, who's capable of putting on excellent matches with just about anybody. And again, it wasn't what we have grown accustomed to when it comes to takeover main events. It's not going to get 5 stars from Meltzer. It was very much an old-fashioned match focused on working a body part, wearing your opponent down, and hitting the move that ends up getting you the W.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not for everybody in this day and age. And also, if you grew really accustomed to NXT's way of doing things during what you could argue their heyday, 2018, 2019, this was not that at all.
Yeah.
Whether Kross is capable of doing that or not, or that's just not the style they want him to wrestle, or both, who knows?
Yeah, it would be an interesting story to know if when WWE, because obviously we heard the stories of WWE and AEW both really wanted to get their hands on Killer Kross at the time, and evidently, obviously WWE promised him the moon. Unfortunately, Cameron Grimes, Karrion Kross gets the moon and not him tonight. But yeah, I wonder if part of them going to network TV was, and who knows if this is Vince's at his direction, or if this is something that Triple H, Triple H a while ago and several times, he would illustrate the difference between main roster and NXT as, the difference between top 40 radio and I guess whatever,
like indie bands.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I wonder if at this point, given that NXT has developed, it has grown, and it has a much bigger spotlight on it now with the USA Network. If they were doubling AEW in the demo and the ratings and all that kind of stuff, would we see this shift? Is this something that is happening to counter AEW or to grow NXT into the vision that Triple H has long said that is unfinished? It's an interesting story to maybe try to understand and maybe one day find out. But yeah, it does seem like it's a bit different NXT. We still have some really terrific matches. There were some really, really terrific matches on here. Plenty of the friendos in the chat enjoyed the main event. Really wasn't really my cup of tea, to be honest.
Yeah,
with you,
I didn't think it was bad. I just think it obviously wasn't your typical takeover main event fare. I didn't think it was a bad match. The finish was a little kind of out of nowhere. There was some drama maybe lacking from certain aspects of it, in terms of, because you get Kross, who's pretty good with facial stuff. Obviously, he's got a very animated, over the top kind of expressions he does all the time. Keith Lee's good about storytelling via his face too, and there was plenty of that throughout the match. Just felt like there was something missing in that respect at the end.
I felt my personal take on it is, I'll be honest, man. It to me, it felt like a main roster pay-per-view mid-card match. And the only reason why it felt bigger is because the build was actually really good. The build to this match was really good. And that the Metallica video recap was excellent. And so coming into it, when you build enough, coming into it, it's got big match feel. Once they get into the meat of it, this is a sloppy ass match. this kind of just felt like amateur hour from Karrion Kross.
It wasn't great.
And people were talking about, Keith Lee looked off. He looked slow. I just kind of think that's maybe the quality of the wrestling of his opponent, to be honest with you. I don't know. That's what I saw.
I wonder if part of it too is, so early on the story of it, I guess we'll just go dive right into the main event. We'll go beat for beat, but we'll go over the major stuff.
Yeah,
early on, the story was Kross realizing, all right, Lee is a different caliber of what everybody else he's faced before, right out of the gate. And it took Kross taking advantage of the opportunity and driving Lee into the ring post to turn the table so he had the advantage. And they started working over his arm. This is something I mentioned during the bit with Dijak, when he turned blue. So the bit where he kicked him while he's in between the ring steps, that was great. But I thought once he got in the ring, was laying forearms with him, felt like that should have been more violent. And, it's subjective. You thought it was fine because he was just really, laying in with some stiff forearms, but they weren't a lot. It was like 3 before he locked in the cross jacket. There was never really that moment in this match where you felt like Karrion Kross could just absolutely unload on Keith Lee. And I understand they don't want to make Keith Lee look weak, but imagine this: if Kross had hit that second rope Saito suplex, which ultimately won the match for him, and rather than pinning him there, followed him up with some ground and pound. There's from a storytelling perspective, I felt like there was things missing that could have amped up the drama of the match that would have left a better impression. The Dijak stuff, that was such a huge part of motivating the match in the first place. They focused on it a lot in that awesome recap package. It seems maybe based on his couple appearances during the Retribution stuff, Dijak's going to be involved in that, so maybe they didn't want him involved in this too. But to have him such a focal point of the story and the build, and not in any way incorporate him into the potential conclusion of this story, at least the first act, it was a really huge missed opportunity.
It's very unlike NXT too. Because
it is. And even if you, sorry, let me get this one point out. Even if you don't have Dijak show up, at least reference what happened there, and they didn't at all.
They're really good at that. They're usually really good at that. When something happens in a match, prior to start the feud or whatever. I mean, the best example, obviously, is Ciampa and Gargano. Like, every single match would reference something previous. And, there were so many amazing storytelling beats. And I was kind of surprised because there were some really cool story beats in the build. And obviously the biggest one, like you said, is Dijak. And really, when I say build, I also just mean sort of the story of Karrion Kross showing up anyways, because this is obviously a fast track. And so it is weird that they didn't reference pretty much anything in this match that came before. They're usually really good at that, and I didn't see that here, and I'm kind of curious why that was. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. They've oops, did I just do something? No, I think we're good. Thought I just hit something on my stream. Anyways, yeah, I was surprised about that. Usually they're really good at that kind of stuff, and we didn't see it this time.
Yeah, I know, that's kind of surprising. I guess neither of us were necessarily expecting a 5-star effort or a 7-star effort for out of this main event. I mean, more than anything, we were hoping that they would tell an interesting story.
Yeah,
do something within this match to establish Karrion Kross as legitimate NXT champion. And I think the bar for legitimate NXT champion is different than it would be on Raw or SmackDown, because there's a certain level of expectation when you wrestle NXT in the main event. You're delivering 4 or 5-star matches. That's the expectation, because that's the bar they have set for us.
Yeah, your camera froze. That's been you're good. That's been the precedent up till now. Like it really has. Even you can even go back to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And granted, it's like the matches, like the Sami Zayn title win was like a fantastic match. The Kevin Owens title win was just like a ridiculous story beat. But I thought, because remember, Kevin Owens, I think they just stopped the match because he powerbombed him so many times.
Yeah.
So that's a match. If you take a look at that match, that's the kind of match, or even like Lesnar Cena at SummerSlam when there was like 15 German suplexes. That's the kind of match that I think would have worked here, because you can do something very simple and make a guy who might not be the best wrestler in the world come off as super legit. And he still comes off as legit because he just beat Keith Lee, and Keith Lee is at another level, and he's beat all these people, and he's fantastic. And so I still understand that he is going to be power ranked, if you will. He's going to be booked like he's like this super strong guy. But I feel like you can when somebody's wrestling or their lack of wrestling sort of ability, acumen, is exposed, which I feel like Karrion Kross is whenever he's in the ring, it makes them just feel less legitimate, in my eyes anyways.
And again, yeah, you can cover that up or hide that with violence.
You can hide it with violence. And to your point, that Dijak stuff wasn't violent enough, I kind of understand it now. Because if we saw that level of violence tonight, like if he went in there and, I don't know, Scarlett distracts Keith Lee for a moment at the start, and he's able to get that Doomsday Saito, and he hits like 5 of those, then it's like, okay, wow. So he's kind of the Brock of NXT now, which is totally fine. Like that's a totally fine thing to do. It's a different thing. It's fine. I don't really need it to be a 5-star match, but to see the whole targeting a body part, it just seems so Wrestling 101. And it's like, yeah, you can tell a good story doing that, but like, I thought Io Shirai and Dakota Kai did a better job of telling that story earlier tonight because they were both wrestling their hearts out.
Yeah, I don't really feel like Kross working Lee's arm the first half of the match in any way played into the finish of it. I mean, they tried to do that where Keith Lee's on top and they say, oh, Karrion Kross hit it. But it wasn't like a huge...
He still hit the Spirit Bomb, which you need an arm
like the finish.
for, you know?
Yeah. But like the finish where they're on top and then Kross hits Lee's arm, and that's enough for Kross to go in to hit the Saito off the second rope. But I think from a drama standpoint, it just wasn't there for me.
Yeah.
I think it was, and two things could have covered up whatever may have been lacking from a technical perspective. You add more drama to it. You add more violence to it. And you're walking away from that like, man, this Kross guy, he's something else. Mm-hmm. He's if he's not going to be the type of guy who's going to wrestle your typical takeover main events, that don't put him in a position where he's got to, kind of do that.
Yeah. I mean, there are other examples that sort of are along the same lines right now, probably the biggest example of it. And I know Bray Wyatt can put on good matches. And in fact, the Braun match that he had before
his
the
match
Swamp one.
He had a match with Daniel Bryan that was outstanding.
Really good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a really good one. So he can.
That were really good. Yeah.
But as the Fiend, you don't need to. And more often than not, he doesn't. They just make these dramatic little horror movies. Or even if they're in the ring, they basically are booked like little horror movies. Mm-hmm. And it's great because, like, it's his character. That's what he does. Like, with Karrion Kross, he could just be like a murderer, like the guy said he used to be a hitman for reals.
Something like that.
Hugo said that. So, yeah, I thought there was a way they could have done that, but like this sort of storytelling thing where you're targeting arm and then, like you said, it doesn't even work in the finish. It just didn't really do it for me. And if people out there enjoyed it, that's great. But for me, it just didn't do much.
But at the same time, though, if that's from Kross's perspective, if his strategy or the strategy presented to him was, I'm going to work the arm, that makes sense. Keith Lee, he's a powerful wrestler. You take an arm out of the equation, then potentially that limits his ability to use his power moves. But again, for me, it's just, okay, you're doing arm bars, Kimura stuff. I know he trains in various mixed martial arts, or he has done some mixed martial arts training, I believe Karrion Kross has. Let's see that. Let's see him bust out some stuff. The closest we got to that, and granted, it was just an arm breaker, but he did the thing where he jumped at Keith Lee and did the roll through into the Kross arm breaker. Mm-hmm. Let's see more stuff like that.
Yeah, and then have it play into why Keith Lee lost the match. That's sort of the important part, is if you're going to do that, it needs to be for a reason that we end up seeing, Mm-hmm. So I don't know. So that's our take on the main event. Let's hit the rest of these matches here. Kicked off with, in the pre-show, we had Breezango versus Legado del Fantasma versus Lorcan and Birch. Breezango ended up winning that match, but it was a pretty fun match. So my MVP for that match, Raul Mendoza. He had that great corkscrew.
Oh, that was great.
Plancha, whatever. And then he hit a Spanish fly. He's my MVP
Raul for a long time has been like low key, like really awesome.
Oh man, terrific.
And it sucks for the while he was just jobber. He was just jobbing out to everybody. I'm happy he's in a faction now that's getting some W's, because he's been really good for a very long time.
By far, that's besides maybe Undisputed Era, that's their strongest tag team. That's the tag team that I want to see with that gold. Mm-hmm. Raul Mendoza getting that tag team gold, that'd make me really happy. That guy's been paying his dues for a while now.
Yeah. Anyways, Breezango's getting the title shot. Breeze hits a supermodel kick on... Is it Birch?
One of those guys.
Yeah.
It was nobody in Legado del Fantasma.
I don't recall. Yeah, I don't believe that's the case. So Breezango's getting a title shot. I don't see them getting that W, however. But if perchance they do, they announced during the course of the show that NXT UK is resuming on September 17th, I believe. So if they're going to have Imperium go back there, maybe they'll drop the tag titles to Breezango, and that's a way for Legado del Fantasma to pick up those belts.
That'd be cool. Things kicked off, though. So White Brownie here in chat says Triple H confirmed that Karrion Kross wasn't just selling. It looked like he separated his shoulder. They're getting him an MRI. Wonder if that's...
Yeah, towards the end, it looked like he was holding his arm, across his stomach, so it looked like he was hurt. So, I mean, if he's got a separated shoulder, depending on the severity of it, he might have just won the title. He could be out for a while.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
because if it's the AC joint up here, that's what Finn hurt at SummerSlam a few years back against Seth. I mean, he did a lot of damage beyond just separating his shoulder.
Oh, yeah, that was rough.
So I think he tore his labrum and some other things, but depending on the severity of the separation, it could be pretty bad. He could be out for a while potentially. Anyways, next the main card kicked off in earnest with Finn Balor versus Tim Thatcher. This was a fun match. It's always fun seeing Finn Balor get to work technical because he doesn't really do it a lot.
Yeah, and that's the majority of this match was, especially at the start, he was showcasing wrestling.
Match skills.
Catches catch can.
Finn is Finn can.
There you go. So yeah, there was like tons of submission stuff. Let's see here. So at one point, this was great because they got to do the thing where Thatch has his face, and his facial expressions are no disrespect meant to Karrion Kross. I'm not just trying to crap on the guy because actually I think Karrion Kross has got like the greatest promo voice right now in NXT.
He's a good promo. He's got a good look. His packaging is incredible.
He's got a great charisma. I'm not trying to dump on the guy.
I think if they in the ring, if they focus on his strengths, that it could all the package could all work.
It really could, yeah. So at one point, Finn. So there's like tons of submission stuff, but at one point Finn goes for coup de grace, but he misses, and he starts selling his leg. He's like, "Oh, I busted my leg," and then Thatch takes a look at it. And he's just like, starts chomping at the bit. Yeah. So he takes advantage, gets like a heel hook. Finn is eventually able to escape. Hits a double stump on him. Tries for the coup de grace again. Hits it. 1916. Finn over.
Finn wins.
I really like that match. I thought it was like a super good wrestling match.
Yeah, it was a perfectly decent wrestling match.
Yeah.
You want to give your star ratings now, or you wait to the end of the show?
I give this one 3 1/4.
That's exactly what I gave it.
Whoa! Too sweet, brother.
What about the opening tag bout? What'd you give that one?
Man, I didn't rate that match. I gave it a 3.
Perfectly fine. It was fun.
You gave it 3 stars?
Yeah.
Perfectly fine matches. I give 2 stars. I'll give that one.
Fine.
I'll give that one for Raul Mendoza. I'll give it 3 1/4. 2 3/4.
Raul Mendoza alone up that to at least a 3-star fare. Next, we get a quick shot of Keith Lee and Mia Yim arriving at Full Sail. After that, Sasha and Bayley are there to take in Takeover. They got all their gold with them too.
Good to see. Get used to it, or enjoy it now while it lasts, because tomorrow probably not going to be there. Yeah. After that, we had the North American title ladder match. This was a very ambitious match, and it was wildly entertaining. There were some
suffered a bit from the lack of crowd, though.
Oh, for sure.
More than any other match on this card. This is, or in recent Takeover history, for that matter. This is a match that probably suffered most, because part of the give and take of the ladder match is how the audience responds to all the madness. And that was completely lacking here, and I don't want to say it dramatically affected my reaction to things, but it did a bit. That and Bronson Reed should have won. Otherwise, it was fine.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I see what you're saying, and there, for me, there are some matches that totally, like Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho, the 2. That, to me, suffered from a lack of a crowd. Like, it actually, you could tell that one would have been hot. Even if that finish was wonky as hell. It was weird. That weird roll-up thing. That match, that would have been on fire. I didn't really feel that with this match because the spots were so spectacular. It's just some of the spots, like I'm used to, for example, ladders breaking. I don't think any of the ladders broke, so it just looked like everything hurt. And then there was
everything did hurt, yeah.
There was I'm sure they hurt regardless if they break or not, but it just a little bit more. Like when Gargano tried to powerbomb Grimes and he just sort of scraped off the side a little bit. That looked like it hurt.
Sucked.
Velveteen Dream going off the ladder and like straight
over the barricade through a table, yeah.
Through a table was insane.
Yeah,
that was fantastic. That kind of stuff that got me enough to forget that the crowd was even necessary.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but maybe this is the first example of an in arena ladder match without a crowd. Of course, Money in the Bank happened at Titan Tower, so no crowds would be there anyways. They made that kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
But watching this match and knowing if a crowd was there, how they would have reacted to, because Damian Priest won. In a lot of respects, the overriding story of this match is, hey, Bronson Reed's someone to pay attention to.
He got a repackage.
He got a repackage. He had a couple of really spectacular spots. A couple times he was really on the precipice of winning. So despite him not getting that belt, it really was another star-making performance from Bronson Reed. I guess Damian Priest's win was worth it just to see his picture with Triple H.
Oh, 100%. Man, come on. You and I both like Damian Priest. He seems to.
We like Damian Priest. I'm hoping now they'll actually have focus for his character. Yeah. Because for a while, it's been kind of nebulous exactly what his character is supposed to be.
I wonder if that's like part of his thing, though. It's like, you know, he's got
like a permanent existential crisis. Who am I?
And now that he's got the title, it's like, oh, okay, the girls like me now because I've got the title. And we have to talk about this just really quick. So Damian Priest ended up winning. We'll go over some of these spots because some of them are just crazy. Damian Priest ended up winning, and afterwards they had a great little interview with him where they were like, yeah, Mackenzie or whoever was like, hey, what's happening now? He's like, time to go party. I'm so happy with myself. And he just goes right into a hot tub that's sitting right next to his car. With a couple of women in it. It was amazing. And then Triple H did the pointing picture with Damian Priest. I think he's back on track, man. That picture, the hot tub, everything's come together. I think he's good.
I hope so, because I do like him a lot. I like Damian Priest a lot.
He's terrific, dude. He's terrific. But yeah, some of these spots, like you had mentioned Bronson Reed, real terrific. He's now colossal Bronson Reed as opposed to thick boy. I think that's a cool thing. His ring attire and his jacket, his entrance jacket was a homage to Bam Bam Bigelow. Mm-hmm. That was really cool. Yeah, I actually thought when he came out looking like that, I was like, oh, okay, so he's totally gonna win this now.
Yeah, and despite not winning, it was kind of his match to shine in a lot of respects. So at some point during the match, Candice comes out to check on Johnny, and then Bronson's scaling the ladder after knocking Johnny off. She gets on his back.
Oh, that was amazing.
And so he jumps off the ladder with her still on his back and splashes Gargano to the mat. That was a pretty crazy spot.
That was terrific.
Another one after that. That was pretty cool.
A little bit earlier than that, I think. Yeah. Sorry, I'm veering off from what you're saying. The one final beat with the ladder that Gargano hit, I think on Reed.
Oh yeah, on Reed. Yeah, that was great too.
Was just fantastic. That was. Great.
it was Bronson Reed that pushed over the ladder that sent Velveteen Dream over the barricade through the table.
Yeah.
It was a really fun match. I mean, I think all told, it was a good takeover, and I don't know what it was. It just felt like it wasn't takeover hitting on all cylinders.
The first two matches were very takeover. The third one was a celebrity match, and then the women's match was totally a takeover level match. And then Lee versus Kross just wasn't. So yeah, it was like 3/5 of a takeover. Did I even get my numbers right there? 1, 2.
Yeah, there's five matches on the main card.
Okay, all right, just making sure. This is fun though. This is really fun stuff. Yeah, that sort of weird sunset flip kind of
that sucked.
Power bomb. Grimes is so great though. God,
yeah,
I love
he had
him
some fun
much.
comedy bits. He pulled a ladder up from under the ring, and it was like 3 feet tall.
Really small ladder.
And he was being his annoying self the entire time, talking trash. So like the entire match.
Yeah, so like the finish was great. Let's see here. So it showed Reed was climbing the ladder. Grimes pushed him off. He climbs. He grabs the title. Gargano goes up there. He used the title to punch Grimes. We think that Gargano has the title. And then Priest goes up there and sort of one of those gifable moment shots that they do where he just sort of emerges. They fight. They literally both have the title. Like the title's off the hanger. They have it. And but Priest gives him 2 kicks. Gargano goes flying. Priest is the new champion. I gave this 4.5 stars, man.
Wow.
I thought it was terrific. I thought it was really good.
It's only a 3 3/4 from me.
Wow, like not even missing. 4. Wow.
Felt like something was missing.
All right.
It was fine and all. Maybe if it was the crowd, it would have been over 4 stars. With me, it was only 4 3/4.
To me, the only thing missing, keeping it from 5, was broken ladders. Because those ladders weren't breaking.
No, they weren't.
Like, you need the ladder break. Like, a Priest gave a choke slam to Reed at one point. Didn't break. Power bombs didn't break.
Didn't break when Velveteen Dream did the Death Valley driver onto
didn't break
Priest when he was on the ladder.
Didn't break.
All
right, man. Let's talk
about.
So
it was fine and all, but it was okay. Yeah. Next, Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee. Where do you rate Pat McAfee in terms of celebrity / athlete stepping into the pro wrestling ring?
Those two
D'Angelo Williams set the bar. I think we could agree on that.
He's terrific. That dude looks like he's an actual wrestler. Like when he was in Impact, he was great. I rank this match anyways above the Stephen Amell, either of the Stephen Amell performances that I've seen. There were some really impressive things that Pat McAfee did. One match with like one of the best wrestlers on the planet. We mentioned the small things during this match. The worked punches looked really good.
Yeah, his worked punches look good.
They looked really good. The fact that he was able to take a Panama Sunrise.
I would say this, but him selling, I'm not necessarily talking about his like facial reactions. Him taking the moves all look good. He didn't flub any of them. He took a backstabber. He took Panama Sunrise.
He did.
All of his selling, the impact of the moves looked good, looked crisp.
But then you even mentioned his like facial reactions to things. They were all on point. They were all completely on point. Again, it's one match with one of the best wrestlers on the world who can make everybody look good.
Probably rehearsed plenty.
A million times. I hope they did. They should have. And if they did, mission accomplished, because this was really, really good.
His swanton looked good. So let's I guess we can dive into it. He had a backstage promo before the match. He had AJ Hawk and Darius Butler and the dude from his show with him. He lists some of his accomplishments. And they says, but this one is years in the making, but it's going to be quick because he's going to kick Adam Cole with the strongest leg in human history.
In the history of legs and the history of humans.
Yeah. So he comes down the ring. So when Adam Cole comes out first, he gets to the ring, says, Undisputed Era, you can go. So they leave. McAfee comes out with his crew, and they leave shortly thereafter, or they mill about ringside. At one point early on, there's a stare down between Undisputed Era, Cole, and then Pat and his guys. Security comes down to try to break it up, and while that's all happening, Pat slips away, goes up top, hits a swanton off the top rope, which looked really good.
It looked great, yeah.
It takes out everybody.
Yeah.
He has the advantage for the while. Hits a body slam on Adam Cole. I guess in one count. The story pretty much was McAfee would take advantage of a situation, get some offense in. Adam Cole would be like, all right, I'm the pro wrestler here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make a comeback until, back and forth a few times. I mean, the probably the highlight for McAfee was he goes up top. Sorry, Adam Cole's up top. Pat's up there too. They're kind of jockeying for position. McAfee's setting up for a superplex. Cole fights him off and pushes him off. Pat McAfee does a backflip, lands on his feet.
Yeah.
And then takes like one step forward, jumps, just like a box jump essentially, back up to the top rope, and then hits a superplex, and it was pretty damn fluid.
It legitimately looked beautiful. I mean, for that dude to take that jump, like 4.5 feet, whatever it is, to the top turnbuckle was really impressive. That was really impressive. So that was great. Let's see here. I loved even the little character stuff. Like at one point, Pat selling his leg or whatever is sort of like using the turnbuckle to hold himself up, and he looks at Adam Cole and says, "Is that all you have, you little punk?" And it looked like Adam Cole wanted to laugh. Like that was the great thing. I really wish that, and I know we're not going to see it because these guys maybe will, maybe won't. I don't know. Maybe in a couple of years. But I'd love to see if there were cameras backstage to see their interaction after this match, because it's probably a blast to see. I think these guys really like each other, because otherwise they wouldn't be doing this.
I think so too. So towards the end, Cole's kicking McAfee a bunch in the corner. The ref comes, separates them, and that allows McAfee to hit a low blow, a lariat. He punts Adam Cole. Adam Cole kicks out. So Pat goes up top, goes for double axe handle. He eats a super kick. Cole's about to drop the knee pad, and he's like, no, I got something else in mind. Panama Sunrise. Hats off to Pat McAfee for taking the Panama Sunrise.
Yeah, man. Looked great.
Cole hits that, gets the pin. He wins.
It looked great, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. What was your star rating for this match?
3 2/3.
Oh, I'm close. I gave it 3.5.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It wasn't a clinic. They weren't reinventing the wheel.
Dude, it moved effortlessly from bit to bit, from place to place, from story beat to story beat.
Nothing was clunky about it.
Yeah.
Nothing was clunky about it. Nothing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a clinic, but it moved. It told the story, and it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. After that, we had a little bit of Drew McIntyre on commentary. Corey Graves asked him, "Who's your pick? You're a former NXT champion. Who you got? Keith Lee or Karrion Kross?" And he said, "I'm going with Keith Lee." So he loses predictions. By the way, where's Big Red? Oh, Big Red, what are you doing on the ground here?
I did win predictions, I guess, for Takeover, so that's something.
You did? You won for Takeover. We were counting the we were not counting the pre-show match, right?
Yeah.
It's a pre-show match. That doesn't matter. Even though I got that one right. So yeah, we'll see tomorrow.
Well, we get confidence points for everything else.
This is a good warm-up for you.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Well, I'll probably lose tomorrow.
Tomorrow is the big one.
Yeah, I'll probably lose that one.
I'm more concerned about having to bleach half of my hair than giving this guy up, because if you guys watch our predictions video, things are getting a little awkward here with me and Big Red. But for at least one more day, you'll see him back here.
Yep. Next, we had the women's title match: Dakota Kai versus Io Shirai.
This was a fun match, dude.
It was fun. It took a little bit to pick up. At one point, Io does her handspring across the ring, and she kind of missed one of the last handsprings. Looked like she landed on the front of her face.
Yeah, it looked ugly.
Like she shook her up for a little bit. This is a match kind of story-wise somewhat similar to the main event in that Dakota Kai was working over Io's arm. Actually, a lot of it was the same in terms of the setup, I believe. She rams Io into the ring steps, starts working her arm. The main event is a ring post. And so, Io's arm was kind of compromised for the duration of the match. Despite that, she gets the win nonetheless.
There was some cool stuff here. So it took a while for Raquel Gonzalez to sort of make her presence known. But once she did, let's see here. I got Kai going up. She's in the Tree of Woe. Io hits that double stomp thing. Let's see here. Kai hit that draping go to kick thing.
Yeah, that was cool.
Io got her foot on the ropes for that one, and then go ahead start with the ref bump thing, because that was great.
Okay, so Kai sends Io into the corner, and the ref's there, and so Io puts on the brakes not to run to the ref, cause ref bump. But while that's happening, Dakota, goes on her path. Bang, hits the face wash kick on the ref, and the ref's dead weight. Dead. Out.
Yeah.
Out. So Dakota Kai, I believe, hits a moonsault during all that, goes for the cover. No ref, though. That's when Raquel Gonzalez hits the ring, power bombs the heck out of Io. Puts Kai on top of her, picks up the ref, drops him right by them. He counts the pin. Io kicks out. Kai then sets up for a go to kick. Io reverses that in the cross face, but she can't lock it in all the way because her arm is jacked up. So Kai escapes, but she escapes right into a Kamagoye from Io. Kai rolls out of the ring, and then Io takes out her and Raquel with a moonsault off the top rope to the floor, puts Kai back in the ring, hits the moonsault for the win. Raquel hits the ring, goes after Io after the bell, sets up for a powerbomb. Cue Rhea Ripley's music. She didn't do her stomp at the ramp. She just made a beeline right for the ring. We get a stare down with Raquel until Dakota Kai kind of grabs Raquel by the arm and says, "Hey, let's get out of here."
Yeah, that moonsault onto I have Raquel Gonzalez listed here as Diesel because she just reminds me of Diesel. That moonsault on a Diesel on the outside.
She ate a knee or a foot.
Right? I was surprised it didn't knock her out because, man, that came hard and fast. A solid match, man. I gave it that 4 stars. I did. I thought they both worked their asses off. I thought it was terrific.
I thought it was pretty good. I gave it, I'll say 3 3.75.
Oh, okay. All right.
That was good. It was pretty good. Tough critic today.
No, that's good. So we talked extensively about Keith Lee versus Karrion Kross. So let's hear it, man. What's your star rating on that one?
Well, before we get that, we mentioned the NXT UK return that September 17th, and they also advertised that Tommaso Ciampa.
Oh yeah,
will be back on NXT this upcoming Wednesday.
So he's evidently not in Retribution.
Thank you. Thank goodness.
Am I jinxing it? Is he totally in Retribution?
No, if he's going to be in NXT, it's not going to be in Retribution.
Right.
Dijak's in Retribution.
All right.
I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah. All right, everybody, scramble. Let's head to Arby's.
All right. Let's chainsaw these ropes and go to Arby's.
Retribution, we got the meats.
Yeah, so we get a quick shot of Cesaro sitting ringside, then the Damian Priest interview, and then our main event. We've gone through.
Somebody asked earlier if we saw who was this. I think they used some channel points on it. So say, oh yeah, so who is this? Principal Photography says, Steve's have they seen the Damian Priest Triple H point picture yet? We did talk about that, right? We mentioned that, right?
Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, Triple H is at the hot tub pointing at Damian Priest. It was great. So,
pretty great.
So,
far from a clinic, I don't mind that it's an old-fashioned throwback type match. Granted, it's not my... I'm kind of torn, because in some respects, I like some of it. Especially once Keith Lee started making his comeback, it got much more interesting when Karrion Kross was working over Lee's arm for like 5 minutes. And not necessarily doing it in the most exciting fashion. It kind of bogged things down. Once Lee started making his comeback, I thought the match got much better. The finish kind of came out of nowhere. 2.125 stars.
2 1/4. 2
1/8. 2 1/8.
Oh, 2.125. Wow.
Yeah, 2.125.
So just a scotch over 2. I gave it a scotch under 2. I gave it 1 3/4. It didn't. It's got to be at least a good wrestling match, like with no clunkiness, to get to 2 stars. In my book, you got to have that. And dude, it just felt off. Like the actual wrestling felt
like
off.
I feel like Karrion Kross is not the type of guy who should be running ropes, you know? Just like, and that's not a criticism.
There was that whole sequence that they gave each other lariats, and they were like trying to go for pins. Keith Lee hits a suplex, and he goes for a pin. What?
It's like I think some of this match, yeah, maybe the performance wasn't great, but just how it was laid out, I don't necessarily feel like it played to anybody's strengths per se.
Yeah. There's that.
You know?
There is absolutely that.
And I don't know
That's
how much
true.
of that falls on Kross and Lee, how much that falls on whoever is producing this match. I don't know. I don't know the inner workings of all that stuff. But, you know, there was, apart from Keith Lee opening the match, like, you know, with the chip on his shoulder, wanting to more or less avenge what happened to Dijak. And that was like, for Keith Lee, like his one bit of fieriness, you know?
Yeah.
Like there was one moment where he got up and kind of no-sold something. I feel like a lot of the drama was just missing from this. Once Lee got past that initial thing where it seemed like, all right, obvious, I'm out here to avenge what happened to Dijak. That from his motivation, that didn't really seem to come into play much after that.
Yeah.
You didn't hear a whole lot of crap talk from Karrion Kross about that either. Just from like a storytelling perspective, I felt like there was beats missing.
Yeah.
And I felt like if those beats were in there, this match would have been much better.
Yeah.
Again, Karrion Kross is not the type of guy who should be out there running ropes.
Yeah.
Period. He shouldn't be running ropes.
Yeah, I agree.
Triple H should give him the Jackson Riker direction. And that by that I mean you're a Terminator. They might knock you down, but you get right back up.
Brock doesn't run the ropes.
Not very often, no.
Isn't there somebody who, like, I think that when we heard they will not run the ropes?
Oh, maybe not.
Oh, Matt Riddle. I think it was Matt Riddle.
Yes, Matt Riddle. It's
Matt Riddle.
yeah.
That's right.
Because it makes sense.
Yeah.
His background's in MMA. Why would he run the ropes? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like Karrion Kross, like they're really pushing him as, you know, having some sort of fight background, MMA background. You know, you don't run the ropes in mixed martial arts. Why should he run the ropes?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
So that's it for our NXT Takeover XXX Triple X 30 review. Let us know what your star ratings are in the comments below. Let us know what you guys thought about it. I mean, it's a pretty big question. You know, do you like this direction of NXT? Do you prefer? I understand a little bit of middle ground. I actually kind of like the idea of a middle ground. Not everything has to be a 5-star classic.
Definitely.
You can mix it up. I had a wildly fun time with Pat McAfee tonight. So I'm into that. I want to make sure that everybody can wrestle good. So that's our NXT Takeover report. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Everybody on Twitch, thanks for hanging out with us. Everybody for our YouTube live stream, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.
Be a part of the best pro wrestling podcast today at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Enjoy tons of bonus videos, including patron-only live shows, gameplay, and vintage 10 for the wins, access to podcast question threads, the Friendo Care Package, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today at patreon.com/Steve and Larson.